Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sports Repo. This is the Week 3 NFL wrap-up. Along with my partner Dion Johnson, I am Joshua Sears. This is part 1 of our part 2 segment, and we're going to jump right into it. The first game that we have here, Dion, is the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. Buffalo beat them 34-31. The Bills D had 4 picks. Brady went 30 of 45, 387 yards with 4 touchdowns. And Fitzpatrick went 27 of 40, 369 yards and 2 touchdowns. Besides the great job by the Bills defense, what did you see in this game?
Uh, I just saw a good game. Period. Bills defense obviously was a great job, as you stated already. 4 picks on Tom Brady, who typically does not throw very many picks. They just knew where to be when he threw the ball. Of course, they had 1 pick 6. Fred Jackson played outstanding for them. Buffalo Bills did their job. They came back in the second half from being down by 11 points and came back, won the game, and they showed that they are really worth every penny. Buffalo Bills look like they're going to try to take it at least to the AFC Championship this year.
Next game we're going to talk about is the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Carolina beat Jacksonville 16-10. Blaine Gabbert was 12 of 21 for 139 yards and a touchdown, but he was sacked on his first career NFL drive in the end zone for a safety. And Newton went 18 of 34, kind of a poor game for him, 158 yards and a touchdown, but Maurice Jones-Drew, too bad they didn't get the win because he would be the headliner. 24 carries, 122 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, no touchdowns. What did you see in this game?
I saw Cam Newton not regress, but Cam Newton played the way he had to play. He is a winner. He's a proven winner. That's from his days in college. Um, he went ahead. He did what he had to do. He didn't have another 400-yard game like we expected, but he did go ahead and he played. He played as well as he possibly could. He still went ahead and completed a few passes to Steve Smith. On the other side of the ball, Blaine Gabbert, you know, he played as well as he could for a rookie. I do not see him being the guy that that puts his team on his back. They're going to put this team on the back of Maurice Jones-Drew. They're going to run that ball a lot more often, so that O-line is going to have to continue to give him those gaps and continue to block well for him because that's how they're going to win games. Blaine Gabbert has still got to be groomed. There's still a few things that he's got to work on to become a complete NFL quarterback. So once he gets those things worked on and he gets those things correct, he can continue to progress in this league.
San Francisco defeats Cincinnati 13-8. Alex Smith had 20 of 30 for 201 yards, no TDs. Andy Dalton 17 of 32, 157 yards and no TDs. Kendall Hunter scored the only touchdown of the game. What did you see in this game?
Two stagnant offenses. Kendall Hunter scoring the only touchdown in the game was a bright spot, strictly based on the fact that Frank Gore hasn't been scoring many touchdowns or getting many yards. Um, the defense has actually made themselves look pretty good here with the low-scoring game, but Kendall Hunter scoring that 1 touchdown was the only bright spot. Vernon Davis actually caught a few passes. They have to continue to use him in their offense because he is a very big offensive threat to any defense. You can't put a linebacker on him. You can barely even put a corner or a safety on him because of the speed and the agility that this guy has. So on the other side of the ball, Andy Dalton's going to continue to progress and play well. I'm not going to say that this is going to be the year for the Bengals. I don't believe they'll make the playoffs. With the 49ers being in a weaker division, of course, the NFC West, aka the NFC Worst, as a lot of commentators call it. I wouldn't say that much, but that's what people say. They'll have a better shot at making the playoffs.
Now we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns and the Miami Dolphins. Cleveland defeated Miami 17 of 16. Both quarterbacks played pretty good. Henne was 19 of 29, 255 yards and a touchdown, where McCoy was 19 of 39, 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. The yards and the missed attempts really show there between McCoy and Henne. So, what did you see in this game?
I didn't see much. I saw two teams who were just playing to continue to keep their playoff hopes alive as far as early in the season and to be able to stay in the mix with their respective divisions. Miami, I don't see them doing much. There's a possibility that Chad Henne could have his last year there if he doesn't step his game up and win some games and at least get these guys into a wild card game for the playoffs so that they have some hope for him. Colt McCoy is going to continue to progress. He still looks good. He's doing all right. Peyton Hill has been bitten by this injury bug a little bit early. Hopefully that Madden curse doesn't take over his season and ruin it for him. If you don't believe in it, that's your choice. But over here at the Sports Repo, the Madden curse has been proven to mess up a few good seasons. So Peyton Hillis, you got to be mindful.
Next game we're going to talk about was a huge game, in my mind, game of the week. Detroit, Minnesota. Minnesota opens the first half 20-0. Detroit comes back, scores 23-3 by the end of regulation in that second half, and they got the final three to win the game 26-23. Stafford went 32 of 46, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns. McNabb went 22 of 36, 211 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, the one low for Detroit outside of a horrible first half was Javid Best. Javid Best had 12 carries for 14 yards, a 1.2 yards per carry, career low, as I said. What did you see in this game?
I saw Detroit doing what they do best. Detroit and Buffalo are one and the same. They both were losing in the first half. They both came back in the second half, played well, and came out and won the game. Minnesota, if it was the first half of every game they played so far this season, they would have won. In the second half, this defense seems to falter. It seems to become stagnant and stop. They act like it almost seems like they don't even want to play anymore. So you got to step your game up, Minnesota, on defense, and you got to play 4 full quarters, 60 full minutes of continuous football, and you can't stop in the second half. At halftime, it's not time to take a break. At halftime, that's when you're supposed to, rev it up and keep going and try to get that win. For the Detroit Lions, I have nothing else to say but Matthew Stafford and Megatron, a.k.a. Calvin Johnson. Those two guys are a great combo. They're going to continue to be a great combo for years to come. As long as Stafford is healthy, you will see the Detroit Lions in the playoffs this year.
Well said. Next, we have New Orleans and Houston. New Orleans defeated Houston by a touchdown, 40-33. Not much difference between Schaub and Breeze. Schaub went 22 of 39, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. Breeze 31 of 44, 370 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Really only 3 yards difference between Schaub and Breeze. What a game. What did you see in this one?
Well, I saw two teams that were going to do exactly what we thought. Air it out. They both went through the air. They both went ahead and torched their both respective DBs on each side of the ball, and they played a pretty good game. New Orleans came out with the win, but Houston, by no means did they fall back, did they regress in any way. They still showed that they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. So Houston most likely will take their division, and the Saints needed that win to continue to go on an upward swing as far as keeping up in the NFC South, because the NFC South is an extremely competitive division, with Carolina surprising everybody with the way that Cam Newton has been playing lately. You got to be mindful of those Panthers. The Panthers were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, and now they've got a quarterback, so you got to be mindful. They got 2 good tight ends in Shockey and Olsen, so the NFC South is going to be extremely competitive this year.
And the next game we've got is the Giants and the Eagles. Giants beat the Eagles 29-16. Manning, a great game, 16 of 23, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, I'm sorry. And Vic, before he went out with what they thought was a broken hand, turned out only to be a bruised hand. He went 16 of 23, 176 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, but Shady McCoy, just like Maurice Jones-Drew, played well enough to win. 24 carries, 128 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown. What did you see in this game?
I saw the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, they are pretty much like the Miami Heat of football, because their beginning of their season is just really rocky. The Miami Heat, their beginning of their season was extremely rocky, as you remember. Mm-hmm. So right now, it's a little it's a bumpy road, and they've got to get over these few humps. They got to play the 49ers next week, and I saw the Giants just play good football, man. I mean, Asante Samuels, Nnamdi Asomugha, and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, you got to start earning your money, baby. All that bread you're getting paid over there, and you're getting burned by cats like Victor Cruz and nobodies that, haven't even got names in the league yet. And they made names for themselves by catching balls on you, so you got to start earning your money and playing a little bit harder and actually picking these balls off. A few years ago, people wouldn't think to throw the ball anywhere near these guys. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie can jump in the air about 5, 6 feet, and Asamoah and Samuels just shut things down. So you got to be mindful. You guys got to step the game up. And as far as Michael Vick goes, I'll say this. I can say it because I don't get fined and I don't have any rules, any regulations. It's because you're black, man. I'm sorry about it. And I know you want your flags, but if anything, you're going to go ahead and have to start yelling and crying and complaining like all these other quarterbacks and start begging for these flags for these guys to give it to you. They're not going to just give you the respect. The quarterback position has been owned by, the Caucasian person for a very long time. Black quarterbacks are very rare, so I'm just going to tell you right now, if you want it, you're going to have to beg, plead, and fight for it. Those guys get it strictly based on one reason, and that reason was already stated. I am not racist by any means. I am not biased by any means. I only speak the truth here on the Sports Repo. I'm going to give you exactly what you want to hear, not what you don't want to hear. There is no politically correct over here. Me and my buddy right here, we speak the truth. We're going to touch on a couple more truths a little bit later.
And another game that we witnessed was Tennessee defeating Denver by 3 points, 17-14. Orton went 24-39, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hasselbeck, 27-36, 311 yards and 2 touchdowns. CJ2K, non-existent. 13 carries, 21 yards, an average of 1.6 yards per carry. No touchdowns. Ouch.
Don't really know what to say about this game. All I can say is, Chris Johnson, you wanted to get paid. Chris Johnson, you got paid. Now you need to play like you're getting paid. Going from 800,000 to double-digit millions every year does not mean you get to take a rest. That doesn't mean you get to fall back. That doesn't mean you get to kick it. That doesn't mean you get to go on Twitter and talk crap about how you got what you want. I don't care about how the fans feel and all this other stuff. One thing you need to remember is them fans are filling your pockets. If they ain't in them stadiums, you not getting no money. Number two, you need to step your game up, baby. You better than this. I know you better than this, and I want to see more from you than you giving us with that 2,000-yard season that you did have. I know you're better than this. So you got to step your game up. You got to keep playing. Matt Hasselbeck did his thing. You know what I'm saying? He went out there and he threw the ball as best he could. But once they hand the ball to you, you got to be that player that everybody is scared of. You got to be that guy that defensive coordinators have nightmares over. They don't want to see you coming. They are too worried about CJ2K, so they leave your receivers wide open. And most of the time, you guys don't really have any receivers. You got Kenny Britt. The rest of the guys on your receiving squad, I can barely name. And that's no disrespect to those dudes. I'm just saying that if you're talking about elite receivers, you don't really think Tennessee Titans. And if you do, you think Kenny Britt. That's where it starts. That's where it stops. On the Sports Repo, like I said, we talk about a lot of the truth here. We know that there are certain things in the league that people don't like. And there are certain things that we may say here that you may not like. Do we care? No. Because this is our show. We run it. We run it the way we want to run it. And I'll tell you right now, we will tell you some of the things that they say on these NFL networks and these ESPNs before they say it. We think just like they do. So we're here to take our opportunity to show you guys that we got it, that we're better than the competition, that we're better than the rest. The only person that I yield to is Primetime, baby, and that's just because his name is Dion and so is mine. He spells his with the I leave the I out. And my buddy Josh Shields right here, just like my personal Adam Schefter. If my phone goes off and it's about football, I know it's coming from him. This guy digs deep. He works hard. He gets stats. He does everything that he can. If I didn't have this guy right here, I wouldn't know what was going on in any of those games. I just have to go off hearsay. So here on the Sports Repo, we work hard. We bust our butts to make sure that we give you everything that we can, and we're going to tell you the truth. We're going to tell you what everybody on TV cannot tell you because they're too afraid of getting fined or somebody getting mad or somebody crying about it. We don't care about all that here on the Sports Repo. We're real. We're going to tell you exactly what you need to hear and what you need to know. And these things that we tell you are the truth. We are not going to lie on this show. We're not going